This presentation will give an overview of some of the features that make this museum accessible and enjoyable for all attendees, while also highlighting some individual examples of assistive technology that have played an important role in the design of the exhibit. The first photo here is an example of wheelchair-accessible vehicle parking spaces, the requirements for which are defined in ADA Chapter 5, General Site and Building Elements, Guidelines 502 on parking spaces. Minimum vehicle space size, access aisle width and location, and clear markings of spaces and safe routes are clearly defined. Availability of accessible parking improves equitable and inclusive participation in many activities for wheelchair users and people with limited mobility. This includes essential activities such as medical appointments and grocery shopping, as well as recreational activities like this museum exhibit. The next photo is of the museum theater that will be showing a brief film as an introduction to the history of assistive technology. ADA Chapter 8 on Special Rooms, Space and Elements includes Guideline 802 relating to wheelchair spaces, companion seats, and designated aisle seats. It sets minimum size for wheelchair spaces, clearly lays out requirements for pathways, and defines other required features of wheelchair seating. This guideline ensures access to recreational opportunities such as cinema, theater, and concert experiences, while aiming to provide more equitable experiences in those spaces. This slide shows two examples of accessible design that could be used to enhance the experience for all visitors of the museum while meeting the needs of people with different neurodevelopmental and intellectual or cognitive disabilities, as well as those who are blind or have low vision. On the top, we have a representation of a family enhancing their visit to an art exhibit with the use of a progressive web app created on the PandaSuite platform that allows them to access more information about individual pieces in the museum. This type of app can be accessed with a variety of devices using screen readers and alternative selection methods and controls. It can contain video to support the understanding of non-readers and audio content that may benefit blind visitors, allowing the user to more deeply explore those aspects of the exhibit that are of most interest to them. This technology has evolved from self-guided audio tours and provides a much broader range of features and experiences for people of all abilities. The image on the bottom shows an example of a kind of light switch that makes it possible for museum visitors to control the brightness of certain areas of an exhibit. This particular switch is commercially available and made by Philips. It allows visitors with low vision to increase lighting when necessary, while also providing the option for dimmer lighting to those who may experience sensory hypersensitivity in overly bright environments. This particular switch can also be used to control the quality or temperature of light. Depending on available technology, lighting selection can also be integrated into the museum's progressive web app, whereby each unique location connects to a visitor's device via Bluetooth and can be adjusted through their preferred switches and controls. The star of the exhibit will be wheelchairs, an essential tool that make it possible for many people with limited mobility to pursue all of the activities that they would like in their lives. This history of wheelchairs shows a number of different iconic mobility devices throughout the ages, starting with the mechanical tricycle with hand pedals developed by a paraplegic inventor in 1655, followed by one of the more well-known historical wheelchairs, one of the first ones with push rims, developed in the late 19th century. The folding X-frame, which was invented by Everest and Jennings, made it possible for wheelchairs to become more lightweight, fold, and be transported easily in vehicles. In the 1950s, the first electric wheelchair with joystick functionality was developed by George Klein. This slide compares a historical wheelchair that was very sophisticated during its time, having push rims and a relatively sleek design, with a very powerful wheelchair that is operated with a joystick function and can be connected to different types of switches to enable the wheelchair user to integrate the controls of their wheelchairs into many other aspects of their daily lives. Since a wheelchair is considered a piece of durable medical equipment and a mobility device, it is usually funded through traditional sources, most likely the person's health insurance, like Medicaid or Medicare. In Massachusetts, Mass Health will fund a wheelchair if it is deemed a medical necessity for mobility and that the person will be using it within their home. In some cases, Massability, which is part of the Rehabilitation Commission, will fund a wheelchair if it is needed within a vocational setting. This requires that a healthcare provider prescribes the mobility device and that the person is assessed by a physical therapist or occupational therapist to determine their specific needs. The person might be able to try different types of equipment to choose an option that works for them, provided that the funding source will approve the specific device. Both wheelchair user and anyone who regularly supports them must be trained in the safe use of the equipment. The first case study through which we will consider the accessibility of the museum exhibit is Museum Visitor 1. She is a manual wheelchair user who lives a 10-minute walk or roll from the museum. Despite timely snow removal, she can expect there to be about 1 to 2 inches of snow on the ground at the time that she plans to use her wheelchair to get to the exhibit, and she will have to plan ahead as she prefers not to spend money on transportation. To come up with possible solutions, we will look at the components of the case study through the HAT model, which is a framework that guides decisions about assistive technology use by connecting the preferences and abilities of the human to the activity they are pursuing within a given context. This model also reminds us to consider how aspects of human activity and AT may affect changes in each element, while also always remaining impacted by the overall context, situation, or environment. The HAT components of this case study include the person who is planning to visit the museum as the human. The activity is defined as attending the exhibit at the museum. The assistive technology in use is the person's manual wheelchair, and the overall context is the snowy ground and cold weather during the person's 10-minute walk or roll to the museum. The human will experience increased exposure to cold and wet, as well as increased physical strain. The wheels of the manual wheelchair are in constant contact with the snowy ground and more difficult to move due to increased resistance, thus increasing the risk of frostbite, skin injury, muscle strain, and exhaustion. The wheelchair could also become stuck in the snow, preventing completion of the activity, or the person may decide not to undertake the trip to the museum out of safety concerns, thus reducing their level of participation in community life, recreation, and leisure due to an unmet mobility need. The wet and cold conditions paired with increased resistance due to snow accumulation could cause damage to different parts of the wheelchair, potentially impacting the person's access to other activities in their life. Here we have some potential solutions to support the human within this context. The person's hands will be kept safe from frostbite and injury by wearing durable waterproof gloves that provide protection from the cold and increased grip in wet environments. Pushroom covers are available in a variety of materials and textures and can also be made at home using sections of foam intended for insulating pipes. They can reduce strain on the hands and help prevent cold conductivity from the metal frame to the wheelchair user. Power assist options that attach the front of the wheelchair, lifting casters off the ground, provide greater stability and traction than rear power assist, while reducing physical strain on the person in conditions that cause increased resistance to wheelchair movement. We must also consider some solutions that will help to maintain the functionality and integrity of the assistive technology. The all-terrain freewheel stores away quickly when not in use and can be easily attached to the footrest of a manual wheelchair, lifting the front casters off the ground, thus preventing them from becoming impacted by ice and snow. Wheel blades are small skis that click onto the front casters of a manual wheelchair, distributing the weight more evenly and preventing sinking into the snow. The person may also consider outfitting their wheelchair with a pair of winter tires, or alternatively, apply a number of zip ties around each rear wheel to increase the wheelchair's traction during snowy conditions. Museum Visitor 2 is preparing to attend the museum exhibit. They have the diagnoses of ASD, ADHD, and intellectual disability. They are able to perform most of their ADLs when prompted to do so and reminded to remain focused on the task. It can be difficult for them to follow through all steps involved in their personal hygiene and grooming, and they often lose track of time, causing them to arrive late or forget to participate in events. Regular electric toothbrushes with a timer or use of an external timer still led the person to remove the toothbrush from their mouth while brushing without realizing, thus often significantly reducing the amount of time they were actually brushing their teeth. A somewhat recent study showed that this type of automatic powered toothbrushing had potential to improve dental hygiene. They have selected an automatic toothbrush called AutoBrush Sonic Pro that costs $79 to help them complete the task of brushing their teeth. It ensures that toothbrushing occurs for the duration of the timer. In combination with quarterly instead of biannual cleanings at the dentist, overall oral health and their visible mouth hygiene has improved. This customizable alarm clock was originally designed for people with dementia and costs about $55. It has a 12-inch screen and can be programmed with up to 20 reminders. The display shows the date, day of the week, alarm description, and an icon as a visual representation. The person meets once weekly with a member of their support staff to plan their schedule for the week and update the alarms accordingly. They have found using the alarm or an app on their phone to be challenging, as this device presents many distractions. The person has agreed that using a separate tool for their alarm schedule that they can easily read even from a distance helps them to focus on the purpose of the alert and directs their attention away from their phone or other activity. The person has free access to their iPhone, but is self-limiting its use to ensure that they are able to continue increasing their skills for independent living. The person can program the tasks they need to complete before leaving the house on time to travel to the museum exhibit. Museum Employee 1 has just accepted an accounting position that will require her to work in front of a computer for many hours. She experienced chronic lithium toxicity over a period of several years, leading to neurological symptoms, primarily seizures, and persistent cerebellar ataxia. Symptoms of ataxia that should be taken into consideration for her safety and performance of job responsibilities in the workplace include some concerns with balance and coordination, articulating words clearly, weakness of limbs, and cognitive difficulties with multitasking. In addition to the 4 suggested AT solutions below, the employer will purchase an ergonomic office chair that meets the specifications that support the employee's truncal ataxia symptoms, allowing them to sit more safely without losing stability. This item will be the same as previously used by the employee in other settings. The Rolls Motion Rhythm Rollator is a medical device that helps the employee maintain stability and gait while walking and while reinforcing steady, consistent stepping through vibration pattern, guiding laser line, and optional sound patterns that can be controlled through an app. It costs about $2,000, and the employer has agreed to purchase this walker, although it is not covered by the employee's health insurance as a least expensive option, because the distance between employee offices and the nearest bathroom, as well as the nearest conference room, necessitate use of a walker for the employee at times of decreased coordination. There is some concern about the social stigma or perception of dependence on the rollator in the employment setting. Wisp is an assistive voice app that can be used by the employee to conduct real-time phone calls with clients and other departments using their work cell phone. The app will clarify the employee's voice when it is difficult for them to maintain pitch and volume, especially during multitasking. This app uses AI-based software technology. Use of this app should be voluntary and based on the need expressed by the employee, not necessitated by the employer's expectation. The employee already uses this app. The thickness of this keyguard can be customized by the manufacturer according to the specifications that best meet the employee's need for depth of openings designed to prevent accidental pressing of keys, thereby improving typing accuracy. This keyguard is designed to be attractive, discreet, and comes in different colors. It does not interfere with use of the keyboard by others, but the employee will have their own keyboard that can be easily switched out with another when their office mate uses the workstation on alternate shifts. The phone cover will minimize distractions during data entry by concealing the flashing of the desk phone when the ringer is silenced. Divided focus increases this employee's difficulty with fine and gross motor control. The employee will forward use of the VoIP desk phone to their cell phone, equipped with Wisp after 3 rings, so that the phone can be answered by their office mate as well. The employee may want to choose a different style for their desk phone cover based on their preferences and self-expression in their workspace. Our final case study is Museum Employee 2, who has low vision and scans entry tickets with an electronic ticket scanner as part of their usual job responsibilities. The scanner has stopped working, and the museum is issuing paper tickets to all visitors at the service desk. The tickets are very simple with small print, so Museum Employee 2 and their manager have worked on some simple assistive technology solutions. The Magnifier is a free built-in iPhone app with robust assistive functions. The employee can use the app to magnify the text on the ticket or take a photo of each ticket and then listen to a transcript of captured typed or written words. This will allow the employee to distinguish between different types of admission tickets, such as individual and family tickets, or determine the specific time of admission for the visitors. The employee would perform additional steps to read the ticket that would be apparent to museum visitors. So the employee could use a single earpiece to listen to the ticket content more discreetly. Additional steps required may take slightly longer and could cause the employee's queue to move more slowly. The employee has begun learning Braille. This particular pocket Brailler is intended to stamp paper money. A customized tool could be designed and 3D printed at very low cost. Paper tickets are issued at the service desk based on admission time slot, A, B, C, D, E, and the number of visitors on the ticket prior to entering the exhibit. Since this is not the usual process for the museum, the tickets are printed on standard paper upon payment and could then be marked with a Braille stamping tool to indicate the essential information. The stamped ticket allows the employee to verify information quickly and discreetly. They may only have to use the Magnifier app on their phone to verify the number of people on a group ticket or if a customer has additional questions about their admission.